Hello and welcome to Curious Faith, questions and conversations for those people thinking about following Jesus. I'm your host, Bill Wallace, and it's great to be back. Took a little hiatus there for Easter and some vacation time, but we are back with a really fun slate of conversations that we're going to have over these next several weeks. Really excited about the guests we're going to have in, some familiar faces for those of you that have been watching, and some new voices and faces as well. So we are in the land still of COVID, and we just want to encourage folks out there, especially if you're watching, you're able to see our faces today because we got the vaccine. Go get yourself vaccinated, people, and wear masks when you're around folks that are not. We want to continue to encourage that. But yeah, we're excited to be able to have this conversation here as a fully vaccinated crew and group today. So that's going to be fun for those that are just listening. Hey, you should still get vaccinated. All right. I'm going to welcome in our two guests here for today. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you guys both for joining us. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves for those that maybe haven't met you before.
Yeah, my name's Mike. Mike May. I'm pastor at Lamb of God in Lake Stevens in the Zion Lutheran School, if you know where that is.
Perfect. Thanks very much. And you are?
I'm Peyton, longtime member of Hope, one of the oldest members
First-time
you have
caller?
here. Yeah, first-time caller. Actually, not first-time caller. I've been on this before, but yes, I am here to talk more about comics. It sounds like
a little bit of that. That'll be fun. Yeah, I'm very excited about our topic today. Before we do that, we always try to do just a little get to know you question that dives us in. So for today, would love to hear. I know you're both movie people as well, so I was curious. You don't feel like you have to give your top two, but I wanted to hear maybe two of your favorite cartoon movies, not just movies, but cartoon movies in specific. And as always, since I've thought of the question, I'll answer first to give you guys a little bit of time to think about it. I was trying to think, man, I've seen some great ones. Actually, I won't say it because there's one I'm curious, maybe Peyton, if it might be yours. But two of mine have to be The Little Mermaid. Still love it. I still just enjoy it. I think the first return back to Disney and just in all of its best. Love that. Came out when I was a senior in high school, to date myself. And then a really recent one, Into the Spider-Verse. Just love that one. It's so good. And I might have stolen one.
Yes, absolutely stole it.
But excellent movie. If you've never seen either of those, if you've never seen The Little Mermaid, who are you? But if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, check that out. It's super, super good. Either one?
Sure, I'll throw The Incredibles for me.
I love that.
Yeah, just, superheroes, yeah, but it's also just such classic family role, the shy teenager, the hyperactive boy, the man with this strength he can't use, the woman stretched in all directions. I mean, it just almost caricatures. Plus, it's a little Fantastic Four, except for they don't have a smart person.
Right.
And they really could have used one, it seems like. So.
Yeah. Excellent. That's one. Got a second? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. As I was thinking, I got distracted by your Spider-Verse because that was to meld together just the art, the different kinds of art that all work together. And his story was good. The acting was great. Boy, I don't know. Circle back around. Maybe I'll have something.
Sure. Yeah, you bet.
I'll say Monsters, Inc. is still one of my all-time favorite Pixar films and animated films in general. But if that is one of my go-tos. So very funny. Really, I feel like nails that like the first time you see that Disney and Pixar really got into like the twist villain of like, ooh, who do you not expect to be the bad guy?
Yeah.
And it's all capitalism in the end, which is always a good message for a movie.
Yeah.
And
that
I
wants
think,
your money.
Yeah. And I think not traditional cartoon, but Fantastic Mr. Fox, if you've ever seen it. Absolutely phenomenal animated film. One of my favorite Roald Dahl books. And I really enjoy what they do with that. George Clooney is fantastic. But
literally.
Yeah. Fantastic Mr. Fox, yeah. So those would be my two picks just off the top of my head.
I like it. I didn't know if Megamind might be one of yours.
Ooh,
as
that
well.
is. No, I was going to do Spider-Verse, and then
I
you
stole that one instead.
Yeah.
Megamind's a lot of fun. You know what? I will throw in for just strictly personal reasons, Toy Story 2, because we watched that at a drive-in when my middle daughter was, I don't know, like 3, and as Jesse's singing, she is just bursting out in tears. Oh man, yeah, it's still that's something that I can tear up just thinking about. Yeah, she was deeply moved and disturbed with that song.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, the Toy Story ones,
Yeah.
man, they really hit. They do. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thanks for a little trip down memory lane there. That was kind of fun. Our question for today is: how does Jesus stand up or stand out in a world of anti-heroes? And yeah, I wanted to bring you two in for that because you are you're entertainment people. You know comics. You know movies. Yeah, I know both of you that dive into that really well. So this isn't necessarily new. Anti-heroes have been around, literally for generations. But starting maybe in the 50s and the 60s, where there was the angry white man, that started to come to fore. James Dean, early Clint Eastwood, those types of things like that, where you started to see this flawed hero who was now the protagonist of the story and driving the story, but really had a different bent. That became something that we saw a lot more within broader culture. And then for me, when I was thinking about it, man, I don't know if there was a bigger launch of the anti-hero because it was done super, super well and was still both pretty funny and all this other stuff than Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp in Pirates. I mean, what again, groundbreaking. Everybody loved Jack Sparrow. Everybody loved Pirates of the Caribbean. And he, I think, might be the perfect definition of that anti-hero. He absolutely drives the story and is often doing the right thing, but is always doing it for very selfish reasons. And yeah, people loved it. And I think, when I was thinking about, man, from there, we just got that and then more. We had lovable anti-heroes, and then we got less lovable anti-heroes, and then we get Walter White, and kind of all those things like that.
You've never even seen it all the way through.
I've never even seen Breaking Bad, but but that's it. Like we've kind of moved in that direction. I think so many of our stories really are driven from an anti-hero, and I'm curious how those of us who are, faith-based people and trying to talk about this Jesus story, can we do that in a world that isn't looking for that type of a hero? So that's our question.
Well, let me first just respond a little bit to Jack Sparrow, because I can remember certainly by the third, fourth, 18th movie, somewhere around there. It just became really, really blatant. I think that was one where they're, pirates. Everybody wants to be a pirate. And the way that they had just whitewashed what pirates really are, right? Yeah, not so much with the maiming and the raping and the killing and the pillaging, but like sailing around and we got treasure and it's
That's
not
just
quite
all
as,
it is.
Not the blood and guts that it actually sort of involved, the ruthlessness and curses, and they found the treasure, I think, right? They found it.
It had magically been.
So there's some. I think you have to. For an anti-hero to work, well, I think you said before, you got to have a clear delineation. Okay, this is villain, and this is too far. And you sort of have to play fast and loose with the facts a little bit to make that work.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt that it's really Keith Richards, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Who doesn't like that, right?
Yeah. Who's maybe an anti-hero.
Yeah, in the
as
real
well,
world,
yeah,
right? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, how does that land with you, just the idea of an anti-hero?
I think anti-heroes in general have definitely risen in popularity because I think it's easier when you know that the hero has these same like dilemmas that you might in this situation. Seeing a hero who isn't just always like, oh, I can 100% choose to do the right thing here. No, doesn't matter. I don't even have to consider it. It's sometimes like more, it's easier to write a story when you can add that conflict in. It's hard to write a Superman story because people are like, oh, well, Superman always just does the right thing. He's just going to win because he's good. And like, so it's a challenge for some writers to like write a good Superman story. But yeah, if you have Jack Sparrow or like a different kind of anti-hero figure, it's easier because you can be like, okay, well, maybe they wouldn't do the right thing here, and that can create some conflict. It helps to like fill out that story more naturally, it feels like. Because if you have a hero who is just like, oh, I can always do the right thing, sometimes that's hard to create the conflict or the drama that a story like requires for it to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you've gone back and read some of the old, Silver Age type comics, and you're just like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
It's so cardboard. You're right. Superman, to me, probably the most amazing thing about him, his real superpower is his super morality.
Yeah.
That he always chooses to do the right thing in every situation. And he's still immensely popular, so maybe not easy to do. They tried to kind of dirty him up for a while. I don't know if you...
Yeah. Not a huge fan, but...
Right, well, because that's not who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You expect certain characters to be a certain way after a while, and while we may enjoy an anti-hero story with something like, I don't know, like Batman, where it's like, okay, he can be dark and conflicted. Superman, we're like, no, Superman is the good guy. We don't want to see Superman get his hands dirty. We want to see Superman save people and inspire people. And so it's just two different flavors of hero that you kind of have now, where you can either have a conflicted hero or you can have the altruistic hero, but you can never... There's like less opportunity to muddle those waters now. I feel like we've separated those two ideas in our mind.
I'll throw, I guess, two more. I don't know if I'm going to throw a monkey wrench. All right.
Sure.
I can remember when the new X-Men came out, and Wolverine was really problematic because here's a guy who, they didn't make as big a deal about his healing factor, but his power is he's got like these razor sharp claws. Now, how are you going to have a hero whose power is he's going to cut you up? At first, they fought some inhuman monster things, and you can kill them. They fought a lot of robots, because you couldn't just go killing them. And then the face of comics started to sort of change. And I kind of link that actually to the other hero, anti-hero, I was going to mention, which is the Punisher. I still remember the Punisher's first comic. I think he was introduced in Daredevil. And it was like the year after, maybe 2 years after, this movie you may have heard of with Charles Bronson called Death Wish. Coincidentally, an ex-Marine whose family was killed. It's the exact same story.
And I had never put that together before.
Yeah.
You're totally right. Wow.
And so they rip off the movie. And they don't name him Charles Bronson or whatever his name is in there. And he's flat out a villain. Daredevil fights him. Because you can't do that in the comics, even though the movies had said, avenging hand of
that's right.
God.
That's the whole thing of Death Wish.
Because that's Clint Eastwood had been doing that for years. As I would argue, a Christ figure, just in the Dirty Harry Christ figure. But it hadn't really found its way into comics yet. And so he's introduced, and people loved him. So they bring him back, and eventually, he's got his war journal, and by popular demand, they convert him into maybe not hero, but anti-hero. I think that's a good description of him. So, and probably for the reasons you're talking about.
It's creates like that good juicy conflict that some readers want, of like a hero that is sort of down on your level. Obviously not like the Punisher. I'm not thinking like, oh man, if only I could just kill all of these bad people. But it is like, it's that idea of like, oh, well, this hero is also conflicted. They have problems doing the right thing sometimes. I have problems doing the right thing sometimes, although on a lesser scale. And so it's, I think it's sort of exciting to read a hero that you can see struggle in ways that like we struggle. Another classic anti-hero from Marvel is Deadpool, who recently blew up because of the 2 movies that he was in. He was popular before, but
now everyone loves Deadpool.
Now everyone knows Deadpool. And Deadpool has always been like that sort of fringe X-Men anti-hero where, Wolverine, they like dance around. Deadpool is just running in with swords, cutting people's arms off all the time. And it's okay because he's funny and he's like doing it for the right reasons.
Right,
But it feels like an exercise for the writer of like, okay, we can get it out here with Deadpool, and then we could go back to doing some nice, clean stuff with like Wolverine. And he's gonna cut the people's guns up. He's gonna the classic Wolverine move. He gets just their trigger finger, very precise. Another like hero that you sort of love to see be selfish and be not great at his job sometimes. And Deadpool is so popular now because people watch that and they went, oh wow, like he's just using this power to help himself, and it happens to be the right thing, but he didn't like set out in the movie to be like, I'm gonna go save the world. He was like, no, I want to figure out who messed me up and kill them. Like he's not avenging, he is just going for revenge. And I think that like in a weird way that clicks with people of, oh yeah, sometimes you just want to see somebody like get their justice, not like justice for the world, not like saving the country or anything. You just want to see a story about someone giving what is coming to the people that wronged them. And you talked about Clint Eastwood, both of you have, but like I feel like that is something that starts in Westerns. Of like seeing that there's like that classic Western archetype of like, oh, they left me for dead, and now they're going to get what's coming to them. Oh, they betrayed me, now they're going to get... And that Old West mentality sort of becomes the anti-hero, where in like those old Western movies, it's presented as like, oh, well, this is how it's done. This is how you deal justice, is you take it into your own hands. And then we kind of step back and we're like, well, okay, we don't really want to say that. And it becomes like the anti-hero of, okay, well, we won't say it's like the right thing or the best way to do it, but we will say that sometimes someone's just got to do what's got to be done, you know?
Actually, it's funny, both of you talked about, again, Westerns and Wolverine. The best depiction of that, of course, is Logan.
Yes.
Which is exactly that. And so much of what you're talking about. And Mike, I know you and I have talked about this, how Logan is very much seen as either a Christ figure or your point, that he's really a Moses figure in a lot of ways. Less Christ figure and more Moses figure, leading people into the promised land very much as this broken, conflicted hero, doing the right things, often doing really bad things in order to do those right things. And to think about it, to think of Logan, this R-rated movie about a character that had grown up, in yellow spandex, and it made $200 million, and everyone loved it, and it was amazing, and it was incredible. And that's the depiction of Wolverine that most people that really loved it are drawn to. That one, not the early X-Men movie ones, where he's killing robots and doing things like that. We're drawn to an anti-hero. What do we do with that? Like, how do we tell a Jesus story within that? He is in terms of what we're talking about. He's the Superman character. He's the Captain America character, and even they fall short of Jesus. Just to be clear,
we're not Cap.
Well,
honestly. I think the thing that makes the anti-hero so attractive is, a story is more interesting if you don't just know that Superman is always going to make the right decision and always going to win in the end. But you have somebody now who can not only make a mistake, but not be finished then. Because that's the good thing about an anti-hero, is that they can do something that's selfish. They can do something that's senselessly violent. I mean, you got to throw out, honestly, some of the Deadpool stuff, because he gets away with that because it's funny.
Yeah.
Right? They don't actually stop to think, well, he set out to murder this guy. Oh,
Yeah.
and he did.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not kids.
And that's a crime that you should go to jail for. Right?
Right. But the idea that you're not discarded once you do, because I think maybe that's our feeling. You look at Superman, you look at Captain America, and you go, I can't do that. I can't be that. What happens when I mess up?
Yeah.
Because we all have, and we don't all have a Lex Luthor, but we all have people who are out to see us fail, and we don't always behave like we ought to. And then what happens to us? So, I mean, in a sense, anti-heroes are a way toward, maybe not salvation, redemption. You could call it redemption.
Sure.
I would agree, because I think the difference between an anti-hero and just a villain is that in the end, an anti-hero's intentions always are to do something good. You like look at, like in Logan, sure, he is going through the country killing a whole bunch of people, but those people are objectively bad people.
Pretty awful. Yeah.
And he has like a good mission of, I need to find these kids, I need to save these kids. There is like a noble aspect. So when we see Logan mess up, when we see him fail, we know that he's going to get up and continue to try and do the right thing. And I think that is like why you enjoy an anti-hero, is that that even if they mess up terribly, horribly, like how can they ever come back from this? They're going to like pick themselves up and they're going to keep working, because they eventually, at the end of the story, are going to do the right thing. And I think it's almost like a sort of Game of Thrones versus Lord of the Rings style of story, where Lord of the Rings, the good guys win and the bad guys lose. Like, it's pretty like cut and dry. Game of Thrones is a lot more like shades of gray, but in the end, even though it was apparently a terrible season, the good guys like do win, and it does like have this ending of, okay, well, in the end, even though we may have like failed along the way, it still is the good guys win and the bad guys lose. We want to see that ending, but sometimes we don't want it to be so cut and dry on the way there. Sometimes we want to see, you don't want to just be like, okay, well, Frodo's got the ring and they're going to walk over there and they're going to beat the guys because that's how the story goes. And no disrespect to Lord of the Rings. I love those books.
Right.
I love those movies. But it is like, from book one, you're like, okay, things are working out pretty well. Oh no, somebody died, and then nobody really dies again. And Game of Thrones, you're like, oh no, somebody died. Oh no, more people died. It just even though it's like a muddled path, they have the same ending where it's like, okay, eventually you've defeated the great evil in the land. The bad guys have been ousted, and we've finally seen like good triumph after all of these messy and complicated like machinations that have been going on. You don't like want to see the anti-hero at the end go, I'm just not going to save the world this time. It doesn't really, whatever. It's the line that Rocket has at the end of Guardians, where they're like, why do we want to save the galaxy? It's like, because I'm the one idiot who live here. Eventually you want to see the anti-hero finally like make that choice of, oh yeah, I should just do the right thing eventually. And And so we don't want to just see a villain. We want to see that person who at the end of the day is going to make the right choice, who's going to have those like noble intentions that are driving them, you know.
And actually I wonder if that's also part of the reason why we don't just want to see the altruistic hero, because then they're doing it and we aren't participating in it, right? I mean, yeah, if that is that part of the drive, the anti-hero is flawed just like me and does make mistakes just like me, but at the end of the day, they help participating in saving the galaxy. I can be Rocket, I can be Groot. As opposed to Jesus, who says, nope, you can't. Like that's not your job. You're never going to be able to stand into that gap and save the world. That really is only me and my job. I think there's a part of that, we can't relate to that then, and we can't participate in that then. And I'd rather maybe have a little bit of control and a little bit of part in that process.
Right, which ultimately, as a Jesus follower, you got to give up, right? Because you can't. Because without a whole lot of people working on a Hollywood script, it was never going to work out where Bill did the right thing every single time and justified himself and did exactly what God wanted and was reunited with him, you know. But, you know, at the same time, I don't know. I look at some of those guys, like not quite so much in the movies, because they're just so much shorter. That's why you can kill everybody in a movie, because you don't have to write a dozen a year and just keep on coming back. You never kill a good villain in a comic book, you know, because they got to keep coming back. But, you know, there would be Captain America, Superman, some of the really goody kind of heroes. They can be a little off-putting, I think, just in their goodness. And that is where, you know, besides the fact that one is fiction and I think one is absolutely real, that'll be a big difference, I think, between Jesus and some of the goodies. Because he could be good without condemning other people. You know, he was never like, hey, losers, you know, you sinful people doing all this stuff, you know, you better clean off a place for me to sit down, because he just waited right in there. And, you know, over and over, I just thought about some of the stuff he did and some of the stuff he said. You know, he goes and says to Levi, and he's sitting down with Levi, and all the Pharisees are outside. He's tax collector, enemy of the people, race traitor, hated guy. And the disciples weren't too cool with this either, right? Yeah. And he's sitting down with them, and the Pharisees are like, what's your master doing? What's your rabbi doing? And Jesus hears him and says, it's not the healthy that need a doctor, it's the sick. And Levi's like right there. Right. Wait, dude, are you saying I'm the, and the difference is, but he doesn't walk away, you know? And I think the difference is the Pharisees are outside going, what are you there with all those sick people? And Jesus is eating with him, you know? So he calls it like it is, but he doesn't act like that's going to be a barrier between us. You're sick, and I love you. I love you, and you're sick, and I love you.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's really good. And you're right. I think that is the difference in the message and why. One, I'm with you. You know, I believe it to be true. But two, why I hope that it stands out. You know, that it isn't just this really great scripted, you know, way of making it look at it. It feels like a powerful interaction that really did happen between real people, in a way that, when you stop to think about it, you're like, man, I mean, really think about that, how that transformed that person, how he walked away from that meal. That's right. That's a message that's gotta share better than just, Superman hanging out with Lois Lane, right?
Yeah. Lift this car like me.
Yeah.
Just can't do it, Clark.
Yeah.
I think I said it the last time I was on, but the laziest way you can write Superman is make him a Christ allegory. So I just felt like I had to mention it again since we keep talking about Superman. Because it's not the same, you know?
Yep.
I love Superman. I think there's some great comic material. I think there's some okay movie material. But yeah, it's not the same because Superman is like God among man in the sense that anytime he like flies down and pulls the cat out of the tree, like he is like helping someone and he is like taking the time to do the little things. And like that's what you love about him. Mm-hmm. But no one's like Superman's not being like, and you should do this to everyone else too. You should also fly around.
Yep.
But yeah, that is the difference. Is Jesus is like, well, you should help the poor, you should work with the underprivileged, you should like do all of these things that I am demonstrating. Like the altruistic hero like Superman is altruistic and like the prime example of what you should be, but you're never going to be able to attain it. And with Jesus, you're like, I'm not going to be able to do that all the time, but he's at least saying what I should try.
Yeah.
Superman is doing something that is impossible for us to do.
Yeah.
And he isn't asking us to try and do it, but Jesus is saying like, well, why couldn't you at least make the effort, you know?
Yeah.
And I think to tie it all back around, making the effort is all an anti-hero is trying to do as well. Is just make the effort to do the right thing, and even if they fail, they are trying to do the right thing. And I think that is, one of the reasons that we find them so like captivating is seeing someone who may not always get it right, but at least is making that effort, at least doing something about the injustice or the wrongs, like they're trying.
That's really good. I like that a lot. We're gonna wrap up soon, so that's a pretty good place to wrap. But there's one person we didn't talk about that I don't know if we can do 2 minutes on it, and really we need Risa here for it because I'm curious if you think Elsa from Frozen is an anti-hero. I think it's a very, very interesting question.
I was thinking about her just the other day.
Yeah?
Somebody had asked me before. I'm not a musical kind of guy, and the Disney princesses, sometimes it's like, all right, enough. But there is, when she is kind of living a moralistic life, if you want to call it that. She is under all these constraints, right? Can't use her power, got to keep everything in check with gloves on, just living that's not a grace life, right? To throw a Christian term in. She's not getting her hands dirty. She's just trying to do everything she can.
All right, the three of us could blab all night long, but we are going to wrap it up with that. Thank you both so much for being a part of this conversation. Again, I found it really fascinating. I really hope our listeners did as well, and that it sparked some of those different people or movies or comics or stories or whatever it is, and kind of where that went. So thank you so much for joining us, Peyton. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike.
Thank you, Bill.
Hope you might come back again sometime. We'll do Westerns. We'll do detectives. We'll do the DC universe. I don't know if we can do that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you back here next time. As always, if you've got ideas on stuff that you'd like for us to focus on, feel free to drop that in the chat. If you're listening to us, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you back next week. Bye-bye.